might put you two at a disadvantage. I'm not sure here, but because I cover a lot of game software for Linux on my site. But we're going to have favourite game for 2010. I'm going to start with you, Gordon. Put you on the spot here. It doesn't have to be released in 2010. I'll make that clear. It's just maybe the Linux game you played.
No Linux game. I mean, I to be honest, I used to be a big console gamer, and I went through the whole works for the PS1, way beyond that, before that, the SNES and that before that, or the Super Famicom. But I essentially gave up gaming not long after I got the PS2. I mean, Metal Gear 2 was probably the latest game that I bought when it was new on the PS2. And I haven't really been much of a gamer since that.
Maybe there's a New Year's resolution in there for you.
Well, on that, actually, I've seen you mention GT5 on your blog, and I've heard the Linux Outlaws review of GT5, and I've actually got my PS2 out. I've got GT3, yeah, I know it's not 5, but I've got GT3 and I've got Colin McRae 4, both of which I'm sort of half tempted to actually go to the effort of setting the PS2 up just to do that, just to try and relive. I mean, I've lost a lot of my touch, but hey.
We'll be checking in on Gordon 2011 to make sure he takes up his gaming again. Roy, I've probably put you at a disadvantage with this question as well. I'm not sure you play a lot of games, but Roy, have you got a title?
No, I haven't done this year. I was trying, as he was answering the question, I was trying to think really hard if I spend more than an hour playing one game, not just experimenting or dabbling with games. But the only ones I probably played for a period of time were on my Palm, because I still actually carry a Palm Tungsten with me. I don't play any computer games. I just don't find them as interesting as perhaps going and reading an interesting news site or just doing some coding or all kinds of other things. I don't think it's to do with not having extremely high-end games on Linux. I think if I did have them, I would avoid them as a matter of principle. Probably not the only person who had the experience of getting addicted to games, and once you get into them and you get a character and you improve and you go up the ranks, you want to carry on playing. And I did have these episodes before, so I'd play enemy territory for days upon days and spend many long hours playing these games, and I just thought, this is really addictive and I had to get out, and I did. Twice. So, the second time it took effect. The issue was strong. Yeah, so I try to avoid playing games now.
I mean, I used to be the type of person who would spend hours and hours and hours, day after day after day, to like 4 or 5 in the morning, sitting doing race after race in Gran Turismo or Colin McRae or Pro Evolution Soccer. I mean, I was an absolute demon in Mario Kart. At that time, I was the guy that none of my mates would ever want to play. But I got to the point where I lost interest in sort of story games and building up games. And I got to the point where even now, I mean, I could quite imagine sitting down for 10 minutes before I need to go somewhere. You know, it's like, right, someone's due to turn up in 15 minutes. I've got 15 minutes to kill. What can I do? I'll just put on Pro Evolution Soccer or a game of football. Win, lose or draw, doesn't matter. If I get humped, doesn't matter. Or if a quick race in Gran Turismo. Win, lose or draw, well, you can't draw. But win or lose, doesn't matter. So that's just a quick sort of blast of something to pass the time. And then it can be switched off for months at a time, until the next time that I've got 10, 15 minutes to spare. I mean, I was never like that years ago, so.
Well, I'm going to have a game recommendation, and I must admit I did word this little fave things of 2010, so I probably bent it a little bit in my favour anyway. What I would say about gaming, I think it's undeniable that it's gaming on any platform is a draw to that particular platform, and I think over the last couple of months, it's not just me who's been commenting on it. I think Roy's mentioned it as well, and some other big name sites have. But it's gaming is becoming more popular on Linux in respect of more game releases, getting a later Linux native version, been some great improvements on a lot of Linux titles. So I always gauge the success or the partial success of a platform, certainly with a lot of the mainstream users in the games that it has in its library. So with that in mind, my recommendation for 2010 for Linux is a game called Autoria. I've made a review of it on my site previously. It's a role-play game in the vein of probably World of Warcraft / Morrowind. Fantastic visuals, fantastic piece of work, great community, completely free of charge, massive amount of quests, a lot of scope for a lot of fun, and all it needs is some more users and a little bit more support. I've written a review on it. It'll be in the show notes on my site. I strongly recommend you have a go of it. I've got a particular fascination with all the things that Roy doesn't want to get involved in. That's building up your character and spending hours and hours on end trying to improve your character on an imaginary world. And I love all that. So I strongly recommend you have a look at it. And I think I mentioned at the time, it was one of the best titles I've seen on Linux. And it's all free. So give that one a look. Now, that's my best of. Virtually finished with, apart from probably one that we'll all have a little bit of fun with, and the final section for this will be the favourite news story of 2010. Now, it doesn't have to be any particular news story. It can be one that you found funny, it can be one that you found sad, it can be one that showed the improvement of Linux market penetration or deployment. It can be on it, whatever you like, but the one story that sticks in your mind for 2010 in the subject of tech. And I'll start with Roy with this one.
Yeah, I've just been thinking about this while you were talking because I hadn't seen any of the questions before. For me, the one that had the most impact, I think that's quite a good way of trying to gauge what's important was the I wouldn't say WikiLeaks. It's to do with mostly with Cablegate and the response to it. It's a lot to do with technology. It's more to do with how you deal with a website under an attack of censorship, a very technical attack of trying to take you off the website and trying to create mirrors and ensuring you have freedom of speech. And the reason it had lots of impact on me is because I've been a victim of similar attempts to crush certain disclosures of sites, not of sites, but of documents or of mirrors of sites which contain these documents of pretty incriminating stuff. And for me, I personally spend almost the whole of December, and I still do, writing about issues that emerge as a result of the attempts to silence the website. The website is not news, and leaks in general from this website are not exactly new. They've done the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War and released documents, but in this case, we not only get lots of stories and different stories about different countries and about different corporations using the government to pressure other governments, but we also see the technical kind of war of information, people trying to struggle to put things out, to distribute things, and you see how they try to use encryption and they try to use the passing of information as a kind of an insurance policy for a person who some people call to assassinate that person. That would be Julian Assange. It's a really important story. Not just because you're talking about people who are experts in software here. So when you're talking about it's called IO era, and there is the person who's I think Mendox is the previous name of Assange on the internet when he was a hacker, and he was contributing to a package which would run on Linux, and I think was associated in some way with Debian. Here you're talking about people in technology trying to use their knowledge and skills in technology of running a website and having the skills of acquiring this knowledge and organizing the knowledge, using their power as geeks, because they are geeks. They're not anarchists like people try to characterize them. They are just people who know how to use technology and how to make sure that they can put very powerful stuff out there in a way that's private, that actually hides the identity of people who leak the stuff out. This is one of the frameworks they had to build over the course of years, and this is one thing they were extremely good at. And they can use that to challenge corruption, to challenge misconduct, and to also expose attempts to censor the internet. And I think that's an extremely important to me personally, because I try to do similar things, which are to expose misconduct, to expose wrong things, and to try and encourage better behavior, mostly through transparency, not just the encouragement of using free software, but also the practice of sharing more and to being open to other people.
Right, well, I'll do my subject, my story next, and I'm going to sound very shallow after Roy's one, because mine, probably the topic, the story for 2010 for me, was the kin being killed off by Microsoft. And the reason why I chose this particular one was